This video is brought to you in part by Inked Playmats at inkedplaymats.com, your place for custom-made playmats. Design your own or shop from other featured designers. Use promo code KlotzDeal to save 10% on your order. Inked Playmats, your game, your style. Check out Something to Do on their website and come join us for a fun, friendly F&M environment. So today we are up at Something to Do. We are going to be opening some Avacyn Restored booster boxes. We got two guys over here opening some boxes. And we have another box over here. And I will just be showing the rares and reading what the rares are. So let's get started. First rare we have is Cathar's Crusade. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control.
No black cards yet. Shit. No black cards yet.
Next up we have a Wild Defiance. Whenever a creature you control becomes a target of an instant or sorcery spell, that creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Have a Champion of Lambholt. Creatures with power less than the Champion of Lambholt's power can't block creatures you control. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Lambholt.
Finally, some black cards.
Have an Angel of Jubilation. Flying, other non-black creatures you control get +1/+1.
Foil Outwit. Ooh.
Players can't play life or sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities.
Want that card?
Have Captain of the Mists. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, untap Captain of the Mists. Pay 1/1 blue, you may tap or untap target permanent.
I'm assuming I shouldn't yell it out like that.
We have a Foil Outwit that counters target spell that targets a player.
Sweet.
Cavern of Souls.
Grizzlebrand.
Sweet.
You win.
The Harvester of Souls has Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card.
Intro pack right there.
The Grizzlebrand. Flying Life Leak, pay 7 life to draw 7 cards.
Can't believe they repeated those splinters.
Cavern of Souls. As Cavern of Souls enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You can add 1 to your mana pool, or add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. You can spend this mana to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. Have Exquisite Blood. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life.
EDH card right there.
Have Herald of War. Flying. Whenever Herald of War attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Angel spells and human spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each 1/1 counter on Herald of War. We have Entreat the Angel, which is our first miracle card. You put X 4/4 White Angel creature tokens of flying onto the battlefield. Its miracle cost is X and 2 white. Have a Slayer's Stronghold. You can add 1 mana to your mana pool, or you can pay a red and a white and tap it to give a creature +2/+0 in Vigilance and Haste until end of turn. Have a Killing Wave. For each creature, its controller sacrifices it unless he or she pays X life. Have Alchemist's Refuge. You can add 1 to your mana pool, or you can pay a green and a blue. You can cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash.
No.
You did. Okay, sweet.
Have a Burn at the Stake. As an additional cost to cast Burn at the Stake, tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Burn at the Stake deals damage to target creature or player equal to 3 times the number of creatures tapped this way.
It's weird not having DFCs in here anymore.
Have a Demonic Rising. At the beginning of your end step, if you control exactly 1 creature, you can put a 5/5 Black Demon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Have Captain of the Mists. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, you can untap Captain of the Mists.
You're winning.
You pay 1/1 blue to tap or untap target permanent. It's the second one of those. Have another miracle card. One that everybody's excited about is Temporal Mastery. You take an extra turn after this one, and its miracle cost is 1 and 1 blue.
I want to be Time Lord.
We have an Infinite Reflection. Enchant creature. When Infinite Reflection enters the battlefield, attached to a creature, each other non-token creature you control becomes a copy of that creature. and non-token creatures you control enter the battlefield as a copy of enchanted creature. If this gets destroyed, do all the creatures still stay with the copies that they were? Like
Yes.
it leaves play?
It does.
That's what I thought.
Could be right.
We have a Dread Slaver. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Dread Slaver this turn dies, you return it to the battlefield under your control. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types.
Wolfe your Avenger.
Have an Avacyn Angel of Hope, which is the namesake of this set. It has flying, vigilance, Avacyn Angel of the Hope, and other permanents you control are indestructible. It's an 8/8. Have another Herald of War.
Common?
It's flying. Whenever it attacks, you put a 1/1
Oh,
counter on it,
wow.
and angel spells and human spells cost 1 less to cast for each 1/1 counter on Herald of War. Have a Riders of Gavany, has vigilance. As Riders of Gavany enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Human creatures you control have protection from creatures of the chosen type.
Not sure if that goes good or not.
Which one?
Riders.
Soul of the Harvest, trample. When another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card.
There's the hasty human token.
Refuge.
Have Stolen Goods. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of his or her library until he or she exiles a non-land card. Till end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Have a second Alchemist's Refuge. It's our blue-green land. We can play non-land cards this turn as though they had flash.
Where do you want to put that?
Have an Otherworld Atlas. You can put a charge counter on it by tapping it, and each player draws a card for each charge counter on Otherworld Atlas by tapping it.
Yeah, that card is bad.
In EDH maybe it could be sweet, but that's a bad air.
Have Revenge of the Hunted. Until end of turn, target creature gets +6/+6 and gains trample, and all creatures able to block this creature or block it this turn do so. It has a miracle of 1 green.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Guess we're
Have a
back
third
down.
Herald of War.
Terminus!
Terminus.
Terminus!
Need those.
Have a Primal Surge. Exile the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield. If you do, repeat this process.
Foil, have a Blue Vampire.
Have a Terminus. Put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries. Miracle of 1 white.
These walkers.
I don't know.
That card seems good.
Yeah.
Other Avenger,
In control all day.
Divine Deflection.
Ulvenwald Tracker. Target creature you control fights another target creature.
Bam!
Oh, Victor!
Foil mastery! Oh, man.
Foil Mastery!
Have a Divine Reflection. Prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to you with permanents you control this turn.
Winning!
Damage is prevented this way. Divine Deflection deals that much
And
damage
it had
to
a
target
Slayer
creature or
Stronghold
player.
in it.
It seems pretty good.
With the same pack.
Foil Mastery.
Yeah, foil, same pack. Foil mastery and the Slayer Stronghold. Oh.
Aww.
We just got a pack with 2 rares in it. First one was another Slayer's Stronghold. And the more exciting one was a foil Temporal Mastery. Shiny.
What? So, I want that.
We have a foil Ulvenwald Tracker, which would be our second Ulvenwald Tracker.
Much less exciting than the Mastery.
Have
I
a
think
dead.
everything after that becomes a little less exciting than mastery.
We have a Deadeye Navigator.
Banishing
It has Soulbound, and as long as it is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has 1/1 blue. Exile this creature and returns to the battlefield under your control. Have a dual casting enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has 1 red and tap. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy.
I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Silverblade Paladin.
We have a Wolfer. Is that Wolfer?
Wolfbeard.
Wolfir. Have a Wolfir Silverheart. It has Soulbound. As long as the Silverheart is paired with another creature, each of those creatures gets +4/+4. Have a Silverblade Paladin. Has Soulbound. As long as it's paired with another creature, both creatures have double strike.
The mythics are awful.
I had to put that in perfect fit.
Have a Mist Hollow Griffin. Flying, you may cast Mist Hollow Griffin from exile.
Surgeon's guy's awful.
Descendant's Path. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card that shares a creature type with a creature you control, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of your library.
Foil Nightshade Peddler.
We have a Lone Revenant. Has hexproof. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, if you control no other creatures, look at the top 4 cards of your library and put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order.
Another silver heart. Foil basic land.
Have a second Wolfier Silverheart. A Moon Silver Spear. Equipped creature has first strike. Whenever equipped creature attacks, put a 4/4 White Angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Equipped for 4.
Lighthouse.
The Restoration Angel has flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a target non-angel creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control.
Got foil outlets in there too.
Have a Dreadslaver. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Dreadslaver this turn dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to its creature types. I think it's the second one of those. Have a Desolated Lighthouse.
There she
You
is.
can add 1 to your mana pool, or you can pay a blue and a red and draw a card, and then discard a card.
Your box is so much better than mine. Like infinitely better.
I like the way you're doing the photos on that.
Have a Sigarda Host of Herons. Flying hexproof, spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents. So you pretty much can't be removed by any removal spell, and that basically means the only way you're going to kill her is by blocking her with other creatures with flying.
Yeah,
Why is there a green card here?
because it wanted to be there.
Have a Treacherous Pit Dweller. When the Pit Dweller enters the battlefield from your graveyard, target opponent gains control of it. Is a 4/3 Undying.
Okay. So what are the only mythics we haven't opened?
Have a Craterhoof Behemoth. Has haste. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. It's 5/5.
4-color plus girls.
Have a Reforge the Soul. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. It has a miracle of 1 and 1 red. Have a Gloom Surgeon. If combat damage would be dealt to Gloom Surgeon, prevent that damage and exile that many cards from the top of your library.
Opening that one like nobody's business.
Have yet another Alchemist's Refuge, be our third one. We have Angel of Glory's Rise as flying. When he enters the battlefield, exile all zombies and return all human cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's kind of the opposite of Zombie Apocalypse.
Like Emancipation
Yeah.
Angel.
Have a Cathar's Crusade. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. I think that'll be in tokens.
Yeah, I can see it.
Gallows.
Druid's Repository. Whenever a creature you control attacks, put a charge counter on the repository. Remove a charge counter from it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. We have 2 Rite of Rains. You choose an order for artifacts, creatures, and lands. Each player sacrifices 1 permanent of the first type, 2 of the second, and 3 of the third.
I can't believe they actually call the card Vanishment.
Got another Angel of Glory's Rise.
Foil Soulbond Bear.
Have a Harvester of Souls, has Death Touch. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you may draw a card.
Right color, right rarity, wrong card.
Have a Gallows of Willow Hill. Pay 3 and tap it to tap 3 untapped humans you control. Destroy target creature. Its controller puts a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the
Not all
battlefield.
natural things are good for you. You know what is natural? You know what else is natural? Bears.
Malignus.
Have a Descent into Madness. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a despair counter on it, and then each player exiles X permanents he or she controls and/or cards from his or hand, where
There
X is
he
the number of
is.
despair
There's a double.
counters on Descent into Madness. Got one that our Red Deck Wins players are all excited about, is a Vexing Devil. He costs 1 red. He's a 4/3, and when he enters the battlefield, an opponent may have it deal 4 damage to him or her. If a player does, you sacrifice it. Have a Dark Imposter. Pay 4 and 2 black to exile target creature and put a 1/1 counter on it. And it has all activated abilities of all creatures exiled with it. Have a Champion of Lambholt. Creatures with power less than Champion of Lambholt's power can't block creatures you control. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Lambholt. I think it's the second one of those.
A whole box, and I've only gotten
Have
2
another
Ceres
Dark
X-rays.
Imposter.
I've gotten 1.
Have a Malignus. Power and toughness are each equal to half the highest life total among your opponents, rounded up. Damage that would be dealt to it can't be prevented.
Refuge number 4. Playset of refuges.
We now have a playset of Alchemist's Refuge.
That cover brings it pretty good.
Another Dark Imposter.
Have a third Rite of Rain.
Cover's bad.
Have a third Dark Imposter.
Right of Rain is bad.
Yes.
Have a Spirit Away.
But another
Enchant creature, you control enchanted creature.
Exciting.
Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has flying. Have a Tyrant of Discord. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent chooses a permanent he or she controls at random and sacrifices it. If a non-land permanent is sacrificed this way, repeat the process.
Terminus.
Got another Moon Silver Spear. Got a second Vexing Devil.
Where are the other power?
And we have a second Terminus.
No,
Got another Demonic Rising.
I'm down to my last 2 packs.
Have a Hound of Grizzlebrand. It has double strike and Undying. It's a 2/2.
I ripped all my mythics already.
We have 2 Arcwing Dragons. It's flying haste at the beginning of your end step. Return it to its owner's hand. It'd be more exciting if you got to take them home.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. That was neat.
Have an Arcane Melee. Instant sorcery
Hey,
spells
there it
cost
is.
2 less to cast. Is that a token? Or that's the emblem?
That's the emblem.
Tomio. Is that how it's pronounced? Tomio.
Yeah.
This is right.
I hope it's not the same as Darkest Entry.
We got the Tomio Mage Sage emblem,
Thought they were super rare.
which means that it's when you have no maximum hand size, and whenever a card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you may return it to your hand.
Conjurer's Closet.
It's the emblem that goes with the Planeswalker.
I hope it's not the same as Darkest Entry, because in that set, if you got the emblem, you would not get the Planeswalker. Yeah.
Have a Riders of Gavany, Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, and human creatures you control have protection from creatures of the chosen type. I think that's our second one of those.
Devastation card.
Have another Gallows of Willow Hill.
You found the foil rare out of this box yet?
Have a Conjurer's Closet. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control.
Another Mystic.
Got another Deadeye Navigator. Got another Desolated Lighthouse. Another Druid's Repository. Actually, I have 2 more Druid's Repository. Have an Exquisite Blood. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. I think that's our second one of those.
Tommy-O!
Have another Angel of Glory's Rise. And speaking of the emblem we just got the Planeswalker, Tommy of the Moon Sage. For +1, you tap a target permanent. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untapped step. -2, draw a card for each tapped creature target player controls.
Avacyn.
And like the emblem said, -8, you get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. Whenever a card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you may return it to your hand.
That's about it.
Have a foil Revenge of the Hunted.
Kind of okay with
Got one of those earlier. Have yet another Wolfier Silver Heart.
Foil Necrobite.
Demon Lord.
Have a Soul of Harvest, trample. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can draw a card. Have a second Avacyn Angel of Hope. Have a Burn at the Stake. As an additional cost to cast Burn at the Stake, you tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Deals damage to target creature or player equal to 3 times the number of creatures tapped this way.
Burn at the stake.
Symbol Wall Sage.
Have another Burn at the Stake. Have a second Infinite Reflection. Have a Somber Walled Sage. You can tap it to add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. You spend this mana only to cast creature spells.
Descendants Path.
Have a Demon Lord of Ashmouth. Flying. When he enters the battlefield, exile unless you sacrifice another creature, and it has Undying. Is a 5/4.
Hey!
Another mastery.
Foil Mastery and regular Mastery in the same
We
box.
have a third Temporal Mastery. We have a foil one, and this is our second of the regular one. Somebody bought that box, they'd be happy.
Best box ever.
Have a Descendant's Path. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card that shares a creature type with a creature you control, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, otherwise put it on the bottom of your library. And it's the second one of those. Have another Ulvenwald Tracker. Have another Silverblade Paladin, which is soulbound, and owns paired with another creature. Both creatures have double strike. Have a Gloom Surgeon. If combat damage would be dealt to it, prevent the damage and exile that many cards from the top of your library. I think it's the second one of those. Have a Zealous Conscripts. Haste. When it enters the battlefield, you gain control of target permanent until end of turn. Untap that permanent and gains haste until end of turn.
My color?
Have a Devastation Tide. Returns all non-land permanents to our owner's hands. Has Miracle 1/1 blue. It's kind of like Evacuation, except for it's at sorcery speed. Is this the last one?
Yeah.
And our last one is Lunar Mystic. Whenever you cast an instant spell, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card.